Jacobowitz, Sam.
Hey.
And today we're going to talk about police accountability. How can we hold police officers accountable for their actions of violence? Well, the first thing I was thinking about was a rolling record where we hold their supervisor responsible for monitoring the police officers each month for documented complaints or any incidents that occur. What do you think about that?
Also, I would suggest we keep on top of the training a little bit better and know how the training goes and how they succeed in their training to keep the streets a little safer. We don't have to have all these sad stories about this one dying and that one dying. And if they keep on top of it, we won't have that problem.
Well, I'm thinking about just doing this, straight to the point. Here's a garbage pail. Here's qualified immunity. Take qualified immunity and everything around in it, and here's your garbage pail. No more qualified immunity. We as civilians in this country do not have qualified immunity. You commit first degree murder, you're getting the death penalty in America. It should be judges, everything needs to lose their qualified immunity. Even El Presidente previous shouldn't have had qualified immunity for some of the things he had done.
Yeah. I also think that there should be like monthly community meetings where the police officers meet with the people in the public so that the people could express their complaints or also to tell the police what they're actually doing right and what's not going right, what could be improved in the community.
And I also believe too that state prosecutors, I think there needs to be a process where if the people want to charge the officer, people have to remember it's their community. And if the people want to submit a petition to charge the officer, they should have a process for it. People should have the process to have the officer, if they do not like something he is doing in the community, for example, the way he acts with the people of that community, and people, should not have to wait until he does something, heinous to be removed. We the people put you in power. It's not the power that puts the people to have a voice. It's the opposite.
Also, another important factor is make the community aware of all the police that are in their neighborhood and make the kids feel comfortable around the police so they don't have to run for them. When there's a problem, they can run to them and feel comfortable that they will be taken care of and not abused by the police. And if the police will take them home, if they have to be taken home, or whatever it is, show them a little caring, a little understanding, You can't always be a nasty person with a power-stricken individual type of life out of it, For these kids, you gotta show them that somebody cares about them if you're responsible for them. And as an officer in our community, we want you responsible for our children and yourselves.
And one thing I also like to add to that too is please stop treating the streets of America like a war zone, like it's like we're in a war-stricken country. Please don't do that. It's not. We should not have to worry about cops going guns a-blazing against citizens. Because there was a video I saw on YouTube of a sheriff's department. I'm not going to say the name. It could be, you can look it up online. And they went in front of the people's house and they said, "We don't want you in our neighborhood. You made my hit list." And the sheriff actually went online and said, "We don't want you in our neighborhood. You're pissing us off." At that point, I take it as, now it's a governmental agency going against, civilians.
Yeah.
At that moment, because he was online, he had all his deputies out there, and he said, "You are on our hit list. We don't want you in our community. The neighbors don't want you in our community. And, we're going to make your day a living hell." Sorry to say it that way, but that should never happen in America. We're not in the 1860s. We're not in the days where we're going to go out and have lynch parties. Go out and string them up, Jim Beam, Jack Daniels, Justice and Kangaroo Court. Everybody has a right to due process in America. That's it, straight to the point.
By having these meetings with the police and to consider ourselves a civilian review board to make their lives easier and our lives easier, we can protect each other by doing that, and that's what's more important than anything else, so the kids see that they know they can be safe in the neighborhood with the police and not have to fear them all the time.
And furthermore, I think we need to end what the police department calls internal affairs. It should be done by an independent agency.
Yeah, independent review board.
Like, you know, with whistleblowers, they have their own special office that handles their investigations, and there's no governmental interference in that. You know, and I think this needs to be the same way. There needs to be an independent agency with police powers that actually has the power to say, boom, you know, the state's refusing to prosecute, we're stepping in, we're prosecuting. You know, there needs to be a separate agency. Even if they don't get rid of qualified immunity, there needs to be a separate agency with the grasp to put their hand around the person and say, bye-bye qualified immunity, you're getting clapped, going to due process. You know, it shouldn't take this long to, you know, get justice in America. You know, it says on our Statue of Liberty, you know, you have the right of happiness, the right to happiness, and all these different rights. There are 3 essential rights you have in this country. You know, they're engraved on the Statue of Liberty. You know, no one has the right to take that away, even the government entity that have the right to take those rights away from you.
I also believe there should be mental health checks, monthly mental health checks for police officers, because they're human too. They bring their baggage to work with them. So I think this should be kept on record, and anything that's abnormal should be reported to the supervisor.
Well, in essence, I don't think it should be done monthly. Monthly is too
every
too
other
much.
month.
I think it should be done weekly, or weekly, or in essence, and I'm being serious, or in essence, they should do 1 week on shift, 1 week is 1 week support group for them with mental health. You know, 1 week on, 1 week off, 1 week on, 1 week off. You know, either way, you know, beggars can't be choosers.
There should be monthly. Well, there should be mental health checks. Don't just let them go without seeing actually how they're doing. Just assuming, hey, they're police officers, they're doing all right, because they may not be. You know, they're still human.
Let's make sure that the stores also know who the officers are, and they don't have to fear the police either. And knowing that they make a wrong statement, they're not held to a point where they're liable, and it's a whole bunch of things. Everybody has to work together in this. So between the streets, the family, and the officers, we should have a big change coming up, and that's what we have to do.
And also one thing too, on YouTube you see police officers, you know, you have people standing there that videotape the officers, and some police officers don't like being videotaped. They can say that you're obstructing our investigation. But here's something too. If I was an officer, I would be happy that as long as civilians aren't interfering and they're citizens, I'd be happy having them videotape the interaction between me and that person, because you know why? Shows nothing dirty to hide. You know, when you're telling the civilian that's videotaping you, and in this country, for those of us that are international viewers, in America we have the First Amendment, freedom of the speech, freedom of the press. You know, and if I'm a civilian and you will also say, oh, you can't, you know, videotape in public. The Supreme Court in our country is basically our king. The Supreme Court is basically the king of our rules for international viewers. And what they say goes, and they've already said, you have no expectation of privacy in public. So if I walked up and let's say I'm about 30 feet away and you're, you know, doing a traffic stop, I legally have the right to videotape the traffic stop without, you know, interference with law enforcement. As long as I'm not intervening, as long as I'm just standing there, you know, you should actually say thank you for videotaping instead of, you know.
I think we also have to hold Congress accountable.
Them too.
Hold Congress accountable for the reform bill. They're working on one right now, the George Floyd Police Reform Bill. I believe that's H.R. 1280, and that's supposed to hold the police accountable. There's supposed to be transparency. There's supposed to be reform in the training, and I think all of this is important. So Congress have an important part to play in this. It has to start at the top.
Definitely.
So that's where we'll start it, and we'll follow down into the streets and make sure everybody's safe. And so the police doesn't know we're on their side to hurt them, we're on their side to help them, and help them with their job. Because if we all work together, we won't have so many people dying every day. And that's a big loss for so many families to bear, and everybody has the pain from it. Nobody walks away without the pain from it. So by keeping everybody on up a better channel with everybody, we won't have that pain anymore. We'll have a closer relationship to the neighborhood, so we don't have to hear about people dying all the time.
And one thing I'd like to say too, because I see this on, their Facebook pages for it. Basically, I should be saying the politically correct term Facebook group. They have, I've seen online, they have the Blue Lives Matter pages and everything like that, and Blue Lives Only Matter pages. And I would like someone to also, probably from the Blue, an officer, I don't know if they're all part of the Blue Lives or not, but I'd like them to come out and actually, because when I was working and they had the protest in Providence, Rhode Island, when I was working, you had people out there with shirts on in front of the police department saying, Blue Lives Only Matter. And I asked somebody what that was all about, and they said if you had someone in your family that was a cop, you deserve to have, your life matters. I asked her, what about Army and all these other things? She said, no, basically they deserve to die. If you have to be a member of the Blue Wall, in order to have value in this country. Even Army, I couldn't believe the lady even said Army doesn't matter. And they go over them to the, real war zones, some police officers today. Call of Duty's a war zone for the video games.
So another thing that actually comes into play, people may say there's too much of it, but I think criminal and civil lawsuits are very important because the more you have of them, I think it's better. Also, the town should be held liable and have to pay victim restitution. I'm talking like $25,000, $50,000, even $100,000, whatever it is, and there should be a set amount in addition to settlements and judgments, because someone has to be held responsible. And the more the police officer know that, hey, the town is going to have to pay, they're going to be held liable for me.
But I also think too that politicians need to be more proactive with it, and don't go out and say, go to arms if a judgment doesn't occur.
Well, something, I think politicians need to be more active in it, because I don't think there would have been as many police shootings in the past if they would have actually done something. Because everyone was sitting up there. We put these people in place to actually make laws, to make decisions for us, and all this time there's been police shootings. How has this occurred? If you're sitting there, you can make the laws. Why hasn't anyone done anything before? I know that's the past and this is now, but it's still happening, and I think we need swift action.
History repeats itself. It always does.
Yeah. Well, something, I also think that police brains need to be rewired, and somewhere during the training they need to be rewired, because they have to learn not to shoot while black. Okay, you take the case of the 16-year-old girl that was shot, I believe on the 20th.
It was a couple hours before his guilty verdict.
Yeah, before June
I understand where you're going with this.
Micaiah Bryant, I believe her name is, and she was 16 years old. And I stopped to think, if that would have been a white girl, would they have thought to immediately shoot her, or was there some other way to de-escalate the situation? I know they say they're trained to shoot midpoint in the back or the head.
It's set body and mass. It's the same thing you're taught in your concealed carry training.
They're not taught to shoot like a limb, or but they're, or what about a taser? Maybe there would have been something else that could have been done. I understand about the split seconds and this and that, but if it was a white girl, would they have stopped to think, what else can I do? Maybe I could rush her or something like that. rather than just shooting the person
Well-
down? Because are their brains wired to shoot black people?
Well,
Because this is the way it's been in the past, so is it still that way now? So how do you rewire their brains? I understand the safety issue of it too for the police officers, but how do you stop all of these killings?
Well, can I say something too? I don't know, maybe my dad could speak on it a little more, but when I took my classes, even for, weapons training, they teach you, shoot to kill on the first shot, just, it's just sorry to say it, but that's the way they teach you. I don't know how the Army does it.
Well, we can learn how to train them a little differently. We can learn how to handle situations a little bit more, in a more comfortable way. The officer doesn't have to come up on a scene, here's this person, it's a EDP with a knife in hand, looking to stab somebody or everybody, and slow roll down.
Maybe we should define EDP as well.
Well, it's an emotionally disturbed person. And this lady with the knife seems emotionally disturbed. She didn't seem like she was rational. The whole thing was to calm it down and de-escalate the whole thing, and nobody would have been hurt. I know it's saying something bigger than what it could be, but that's what we have to try and do.
But you remember Eleanor Bumpers in New York City? She was she had mental health problems, and they shot her too. How do they train in the military? Do they train you to shoot the same way?
It's a little differently. It's a whole different process. You're not in street combat. You're out in different situations, so it's not the same.
Well, I could speak from the, from the training I had. One of my instructors even said, just, shoot to kill, and that's about it.
But there must be some way to save lives rather than destroy lives.
Well, then can I say this too? You have the Kyle Rittenhouse case, and I saw this on Facebook, someone posted this. They said, imagine if you took the African American girl who with a knife and put her in Kyle Rittenhouse's place. With the AK, I think he had an AR-15 or an AK. AK, you would probably, she would have been shot on sight, no questions asked. But if Kyle Rittenhouse had the knife, they would probably, tased him, 4 or 5 times and shot her.
I think another thing is the federal government has to have a central registry for police officers who, put their names there, who've been found to harass citizens, abuse citizens, threaten civilians. I think it's important to have a federal registry so they know who they are.
That's why we need the civilians and the police to get together. It has to be a community thing. If you don't have a community thing, you're not going to grow. Everybody's not going to feel more comfortable with their position and their job.
That's why I mentioned
more important.
That's why I mentioned the monthly community meetings. Everybody could express how they feel. The police could speak up, and the civilians could speak up.
Yeah, but
you know something? I think there should also be public shaming of the police officers that do wrong, that commit this violence, that threaten people. I think their faces should be placed in the local newspaper with their name, because I think public shaming is important. If don't do the crime, don't do it. There has to be some sort of transparency. The community has to know that they're doing this. Hopefully they'll be ashamed and they won't do these things.
No big brothers watching them.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing I said for Derek Chauvin. That man has to fear the same pain every black, Spanish, minority person feels getting up out of bed every day and walking out the door.
And also I believe that, I don't know, some people may say it's wrong, but I believe that all the officers should be penalized for what that one officer does. Okay, whether it's vacation pay, whether it's holding back some pay, whatever it is, they should be penalized for what that one officer does.
And I think, like they say the blue, like when I took some of my classes, they used to say the blue wall must survive at all costs. Even if someone does wrong, the blue wall must survive. And they say, oh, it's wrong to say defund the police. Here's what my opinion is with defunding the police. I think they should be defunded to the point. Like in certain police departments, they have freaking tanks. Like for civilian conflict, you need a freaking tank. I think sell the tank to the army, sell to the army, and put the money into other things. I think people say it's wrong. I think defund them to the point of.
Well, if they have overage at the end of the year, they have enough money at the end of the year. I mean, it's not being used. So why do they really need it all? Put it in other places. That's where it's really needed.
But I think they should give incentives too, for ratting out the dirty officers.
Sure, why not?
In the army, I think in some places, you could probably speak on it. I think the army, if you see somebody, doing something wrong, you report to the superior officer.
Your responsibility to step in and do something, because you're not only saving his life, your life. There's always somebody that's going to get hurt. You don't want that person hurt. You want to try and keep everybody in a safe zone. That's what's important today.
And I also think it's important to hold the senior officer, the
accountable.
Supervisors accountable. Cut their pay, lower their ranks, transfer them out to another department. Okay? If they know what's going on, they should be held accountable. And if they don't know what's going on, they really should.
Well,
I mean, you should know what's going on with your men and women. What's going on?
But one thing too, being from, New York, from the state, one thing. In New York, if you had a bad cop in your precinct, this is going back to old history, they would make you, you had the Brooklyn beat, or the Williamsburg beat, and you did something wrong, they take your butt and they walk your butt straight up into the Bronx, into the worst part, or they walk your butt into Harlem, and they tell you, you stay here and you're going to learn, you're not doing this again.
Work a different neighborhood. Take them out of where they used to.
Work the worst neighborhoods, you make them feel grateful that they had, the other neighborhood they were in.
Make them learn what their friends are in the neighborhood. Everybody can't be the wrong one. There has to be a lot of good people that just want the same thing that they want. We don't want cops hurt. We don't want our children hurt. We definitely don't want the parents hurt. We want to keep everybody where we can at least talk about things, and that's why getting into the precinct and talking and having the civilians meet with the police officers and everybody know everybody, we can resolve a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Instead of just sending blind people out there to just take care of this issue, take care of that issue.
I mean, we have to stop really babying the police officers. We really have to come down on them, because this has been going on way back to the slave catchers. We spoke about that in our other video. It's embedded in the system, and it really has to change. And like I said before, it has to start up at the top too. I mean, come on, Congress. You've been up there a long time, been milking the system, getting paid. What are you doing for the people? This has been going on a long time, and it shouldn't have been going on. We went through president after president after president. Okay, you've been sitting in that seat a long time. What have you been doing? Why haven't you been preventing these killings from going on? Also, one thing we have to drop is the double standard. And that was seen on January 6th, when you had more than a ton, of Trump supporters rushing into the Capitol building.
And the word they don't want you to use is a coup.
Okay.
The word they don't want you to use. They say, but when black people stand around and, let's say I'm in having a barbecue, they call it a coup. Let's use the double standard in the reverse. Let's call that a coup.
Okay. I mean, what gets to me, and it's really shameful in America, and it's disgusting, and it's a disgrace, how they were able to walk into the Capitol
with open arms.
Open arms, taking pictures with the police, being welcomed in, okay, and they were able to walk out without one person being arrested.
I bet you 50 if the Black Panthers did what they did.
Black people.
Well, I'm just gonna say Black Panthers because you had the people like the Oath Keepers and all them there. But in California, back I think in the 50s, this is where the Mulford Act came in, where they labeled the Black Panthers a terrorist organization, and I bet they walked into the California Capitol guns blazing, shotguns and everything. They didn't shoot, but they just said we're not standing for this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I bet you 50 if Black Panthers, these different organizations, did the same thing that they did, they would have been shot on sight. They wouldn't have been able to walk out the door.
That's right.
They would have been just guns blasting,
That's right. Exactly.
Sorry to say it that way, but it's true.
Yep.
We had the riots of 1921, and that was bad enough.
Mm-hmm.
Where the police came in with machine guns and were just shooting people down, and airplanes flying overhead, dropping turpentine on houses, setting houses on fire, and leveled the whole leveled neighborhoods everywhere they went.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody took into consideration. Maybe we didn't have to act that hard. Especially I found out that the girl who started the whole thing was basically lying about the whole thing. So it's time for us to look at it in a different light and get a better look at it and understand it a little better. We have all these problems.
Yeah. Another example of that double standard would be, you mentioned him before, Kyle Rittenhouse. How
did a police officer donate and tell him that you did nothing wrong?
Oh, donated to 25.
I'm like, I'm going to touch on this brief. Yeah, he's a lieutenant, and I'm just going to state this. You're 18 years old.
Well, he was 17.
17th time, I'm sorry. 17 years old. You cannot own a long gun unless you're 18. Look it up. That's what the ATF has made a law about. You cannot own a gun, a long gun, shotgun, rifle, whatever it is until you're 18.
So, here's this young man.
He has a criminal record as well.
He's walking through the crowd. He's holding up, what is it, AR-15?
AK-47, I think.
AK-47.
Or an AR-15.
He's holding it up in the air and walking through the streets, okay, by himself, walking through the streets. You can see all
shooting people.
Yeah, you can see all the police cars passing by, just letting him off. Meanwhile, 2 people were murdered and 1 person was injured, and he's walking by holding up this long gun. Okay? Now,
and you had the My Pillow guy up there, I forgot his name, but he's standing, Mike Lindell is his name, and he's sitting there like he's smoking clouds, saying that the boy did nothing wrong.
But if this was a black boy walking through the crowd holding a gun like this, they would have immediately shot him, because they would have said, I knew he had to be the one that did it.
It would have never been that scene.
And his mother should have been charged, too, for aiding in that whole thing. If she did not bring his butt across the line from Illinois into Kenosha, Wisconsin, I bet you 50.
Mm-hmm.
And she did what a good mother should have did. I shouldn't say what a good mother.
Negligence?
Negligence. The mother should have been charged, but no, they want to give her a movie deal. That's online. They're talking about giving her a movie deal about how she raised a hero.
Why are we? I don't know. Why are we babying everyone?
But you know something too, and there's a difference with a firearm too. You have a firearm is used for a deadly life versus life issue. Kyle Rittenhouse said he went down there not to protect life, but to protect property from the rioters. That he went down there to protect property. Unlike property could be put back, a life cannot.
I mean,
you go down there to protect property with a freaking assault weapon.
That's that double standard again. See, that's the problem. This whole thing with the police department is systemic. That's why they keep saying you have to defund, break it down, and rebuild it. But can you rebuild some of these police officers' minds? Can you rewire it, or do you just have to basically get rid of them? Why are you keeping track?
But then there was a case in Rhode Island where they said, the town said we will not give African Americans the rights to carry. They said that's a white and police officer thing, not minority. They said basically minorities are not responsible enough. But we follow the same laws as any other person.
Yeah.
I think we just, for the people who think about it, why don't we just leave it as a putting out there for food for thought, and let them come up with their own ideas to help us make a change for everybody. We can't do it all alone. 3 people sitting on this couch is not going to resolve everything. You need the people in the community, the police, you need everybody to get together And let's say, let's make the change
And-
and see what we can do.
And if their politicians say, you know, because we've had this told to us before, I'm not sorry for not sitting down and, you know, listening to your ideas. I think that you need to be taken out of power. You need to be stripped of whatever you're a politician. You need to be stripped of because you know something. If you have time to go and, you know, drink champagne and at benefit gala, you know, for your contributors and your constituents, you should make the time to be able to sit down with the people that put you in power.
Listen to the people. Well,
The people.
hopefully Congress and the people that are in power that can make the changes see this video, take some of the suggestions.
Share it. Come on, you know.
So share this video. Maybe it'll get where it actually has to get to, and we'll stop these killings of black men, black women, minorities, brown people,
Children.
all people,
Chinese,
Children.
Asian. Come on, you know.
even white people. Let's stop the killing.
And even then, submit letters to the media. You know, let the media know we want our stories heard.
We want change.
You know, like me. You know, I'm not. You know, I know I'm gonna piss off a lot of people on the other side, but I'm gonna say this too. I gotta give a clap and a shout out to Don Lemon and I think it's Chris Cuomo for what they have said. You know, and I'm not political, but you know, when the truth is right there and it's in front of your face, and you know, and it's like, it's here, and you know, but you'll jump and you'll believe a big lie. I think there's something terribly wrong in this country. And that's just where it needs to end, you know. If I show the evidence right to your face of, you know, first degree murder, and you say, oh no, I can't see it, are you blind? Or do you need to be, you know, removed from office because you don't want to see it, you know?
So, leaders, please listen to the people. Here are some suggestions for
Put
you.
your political motivations aside.
Please share this video, and we'll be back again on the next one. Thank you. This is the Jacobowitz family.